So there is a story that is probably true that at one point, Karl Barth, the very fancy and very famous theologian, was asked by a student to summarize all of his life's teaching and theology. He apparently thought for a minute and said, "Jesus loves me. This I know, for the Bible tells me so." In our gospel reading this morning, where this is happening, Jesus is still in the temple. He has been arguing with religious leaders. People have been trying to trap him. They ask him questions. He responds with questions. He responds with parables. He responds with things that are really hard to understand. And then this scribe shows up. This scribe who has been listening and watching. This scribe asks Jesus basically to summarize the entirety of his life's work in theology, the entirety of Jewish law. What is the most important? And according to Jesus, at the very heart of all of the law and all of the theology, at the center of all of it is just love. Love God, love your neighbor. And this love that we love is singular. There is one God. To put anything other than love at the center of your life, to worship anything other than the love that formed us and all things, is what gets called idolatry. Worshiping anything other than love, putting anything other than love at the center of your life is not to see God clearly. We are called to love God with all of our heart and soul and mind and strength. And we are to do it all the time. This love of God is something, according to Moses, we are supposed to talk about with our kids. It is the thing we are supposed to talk about at home. We're supposed to talk about love when we're out in the world. We're supposed to think about love when we wake up in the morning and let love be the last thing we think about when we lie down at night. We are asked to let our body hold the marks of love and our homes bear the signs of love. And this heart, which we are called to love with, is the will. It is the intention in the center. And in Jesus's time, the heart was not seen as this sort of soft and sentimental piece of us, but the very core of your being. Your soul is the breath of life. It is what God breathed into you when you took your first inhale. It is your individuality, what makes you special. And your mind is all of your intellect and insight and imagination, your curiosity and your brilliance, all of your questions. Your strength is all of the power and force that you walk through this world with. And I think Moses is onto something. Because even when we say, oh yes, love sounds lovely, count me in, it is still so easy to forget. The world is busy and complicated and hard. And we are afraid. We're afraid of our own insignificance. We are afraid that we are not truly loved unless we do enough. We are afraid that we will never do enough. We fill our lives with the 10,000 things. And some of them are good, some of them absurd, and some of them are dangerous. But even the good things can become idols, and any distraction can crowd out love. The psalmist says, "Blessed are they who walk in the way of the undefiled, who walk in the same direction as God. Blessed are they who keep the witness of God and seek God with all their hearts, who do no iniquity, but walk in the same direction as God." Love is always present. There is nothing that we can do to be outside of the realm of God's love, but it is not always obvious. I think that it is easy to forget love. Many years ago, we had an unchurched neighbor who explained to me that he didn't need to go to church because he already knew right from wrong. And I think that was how religion had been sold to him. Simply a list of rules that if you follow, you'll be okay, and if you break, you will not. But I think that most of us here at St. David's, we know right from wrong, and it is not why we have come this morning. You have probably not come today wondering, wait, tell me again one more time. How much can I steal? May I abuse my power? What about hurting people? I do not think that the actual list of rules is what we need to be reminded of, but it is that love which is always present but not always apparent. And so I think that we come here week after week, day after day, we come to holy places. We say our prayers and we tell stories about Jesus. We tell stories about Jesus because in him we see what a life completely filled with the love of God and the love of a neighbor looks like. Jesus lives his whole life without the sin of idolatry. Jesus sees God clearly and always, even when scribes and Pharisees and disciples are surrounding him and asking him ridiculous questions. Jesus hears God clearly and always, even in the cacophony of voices of this world. And Jesus loves God with all his heart and soul and mind and strength. And Jesus loves us too. I think that because it is so easy to forget, this love that we are called to must become a habit, as Moses invites us, to root our lives in love, to love God and each other with all of our heart, which is our will and our intention and our center. We are called to love from the very core of our beings. We are called to love God and each other with all of our souls, with our very breath, our breath of life, our individuality, that which makes us special. Love God and your neighbor as yourself. The exact beautiful and precious you that God made you to be is who you are to love as, and to love with all your mind. Bring every bit of curiosity and insight and imagination and intelligence to love. Love brilliantly and creatively. Love God and each other with all of your strength, because it is hard work. Use all of your power and your force to love, because you are strong. And so love vigorously and with tenacity, because love made you and love loves you. This I know, for the Bible tells me so. Amen.